and welcome to Beth Squirrel Speaks. Today is Thursday, November 30th. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Thanks for coming over on this last flippin' day of November. Are you Christmas countdowning? Oh, it starts tomorrow, y'all. I'm pretty excited, I'm not gonna lie. I have a puzzle a day countdown. And then I wasn't going to do any yarny countdowns, but then at the last minute I broke because Woolens and Nosh put up that she had a few extras, and so I jumped in there. And if I stole it from you, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Because I really do love my pair of countdown socks that I made a couple of years ago. I really do love them. And so I was like, you know what? So I'm excited to get both of those going. I got the teens Christmas countdown calendar. I had to package it up to send with them when they went home from Thanksgiving, or when they went back to school after Thanksgiving. I'm not gonna lie, it's totally in like a shopping bag. I am not the everything is in like lunch bags with like Avery stickers on it that say the number. I saw this beautiful countdown calendar where they had just taken brown sandwich bags, like craft bags, and they had used a chalkboard marker. So it's like a flat opaque white, and they drew on all the bags like they were gingerbread houses, and it was so stinking pretty. And for a good 45 seconds, I had that chalkboard marker in my cart, and then I was just like, that is who I want to be and not who I am. So yeah, whatever. And it was really cute because I was like, oh my gosh, this is your first countdown calendar as like a person not under my eagle eye. I was like, will you just open everything all at once? And they were like horrified. And I was just like, yes, I may have done so many parenting things wrong, but that one I feel really good about. Are you like an open everything at once countdown calendar? Or I totally get it in some instances, like when it's, I mean, whatever, you do you is ultimately the thing. But especially like if it's if it's a mini skein one and you want to be knitting it as the month counts down, and like you just need your color, like I totally get it. But if it's just like chocolate, I'm judging you. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm just judging you. But judge me right back, because I have otherwise no self-control. So but yes, so this week's episode, no shenanigans. Like I really have had time off. Like, thank you so much for folks who ordered from the shop update. I appreciate you so much. But between that and like 700 hours of driving to go back and forth and then back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have had time, but apparently I've just not been shenaniganing in it. But the Christmas tree is up. The Christmas wreath is out. There's like lights a go-go. Yay. So this week's episode will have no shenanigans. It'll have some reading shenanigans. It'll have some stitching. It'll have some quilting, piecing, not actual quilting, but you know what I mean. And it'll definitely have knitting and crochet. So let's get into it. If you're new, welcome. Sometimes I actually remember to put like searchable terms in my title, and then like new people say hello, and I'm like, where did these people come from? This is so fun. And then I'm like, oh, that's right. But if you came from another place, like if you were recommended, just let me know in the comments. That's always great and super helpful for me. Other administrati. If you're a patron, you can check out, I just put up a little like casual Beatrix Potter chat. If you didn't see it, you can go look on your Patreon feed and it'll be there. But yeah, let's get into it. So what I've been reading, so these would be shenanigans of the mind, I guess. Lots of just faff, right? But also, I did just finish the last book from the Thursday Murder Club, which is a series by Richard Osman, and it's narrated by Leslie Manville and Fiona Shaw. And I highly recommend this series if you haven't started it. And if you have, the fourth book is just... I'm always hesitant to read a book by men where the primary characters are female. And there are multiple, like this is a cast of characters, right? Like there are multiple characters, but I would say the primary ones are the ones that are given most voice are female. And so that's always sort of a hesitance for me, or a pause at least. But I have really enjoyed it. If you've not heard about it, it is, I believe they call themselves pensioners, right? So it's British, and it's folks who have met in a retirement community, and then they go on to solve capers. And the characters are just so enjoyable. Like I want to have tea with all of them. Like I just love being with them so much. I enjoy the writing style. I enjoy the narrators. It's just all around the most delicious treat. I've gotten them from my library, and I'm sure that other people like them too because I've had to wait for all of them. But boy, they are all worth it. I think I need to just listen to the series again because that is how much I have enjoyed it. Oh, and then also, I'm going to get started on, there's a Midsummer Murders series of books, which I didn't even know existed. So I'm excited about that. And then, because I love Midsummer, I'm not going to lie, I love Midsummer Murders. Just delicious. Just love it. And I think I'm also going to go back and listen to, since I just did the little talk about Beatrix Potter, I think I'm going to go back and listen to I think it's called the Cottage Hill series by Maria Wittig Albert. The first one is The Tale of Hilltop Farm. And so there are 8 of those. Susan Wittig Albert. I don't know if I said that correctly. I think I might also want to call her Maria for some reason. But those are, again, like very cozy, very light. There are animals that talk. So if that's not your jam, I totally get it. It's not always my jam. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it does seem especially fitting with something surrounding Beatrix Potter as the primary sleuth, that you would have animals, anthropomorphized animals, directing a lot of the action. It just seems. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Speaking of coziness, I'm also excited to do this puzzle. So I have a countdown calendar of puzzles, but I've also got this one. And how stinking cute is it? So this one is the New York Puzzle Company. This is a 1,000-piece. And the series of Lorraine Pemberton's artwork, I think they're all 1,000, but there might be some 500s. But there are some winter ones. There's seasonally, they're kind of like seasonal, it looks like primarily, but. So I'm super excited to do that one. But yeah, then, okay, so crafting. I have crafting that I've done, and then I have crafting that I am going to do, which I don't always show you, but it's, I'm a little thin on the ground this week. So I'm gonna like talk about what I am working on, but also a few things that are coming up. So that I'm excited about, and you might be excited about them too if you have a little bit more time during this season to work on fun stuff. I know a lot of you have the opposite of that, but do you have health insurance? Okay, so I have one quilt top that I finished piecing, but I will not show you because it's a gift, and she does occasionally watch the podcast, even though she's not a crafter. How cute is that? She's my friend, and she does not make stuff, but she does occasionally watch the podcast, which I think is terribly cute. So then I also pieced this little, what is this? Like 36 by 24-ish. This little quilt top that I made for Annie out of some old flannel shirts. So this is just 2 shirts that I cut up. And I did a disappearing 9 patch, which I had never done before, and I need to do more of them. It's a very like fun little project. You basically make a 9 patch, which is a 3x3 square, like grid of fabric, and then you cut it in half, and then you cut it in half. And what it does, it's not easy to see in this because it's so much plaid, but it gives you like a piece that's got a big square, a skinny rectangle, and then a little square, which is very enjoyable. It's a good little return on investment. Because this is old shirts, I did a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Well, maybe it's not 1/2 inch. I think I did like a generous 3/8 inch. And then, yeah, some of it, it's definitely not perfect, but you know, Annie probably won't care. If she cares, she probably won't mention it. Annie is my dog, by the way, if you're new. But I have a flannel quilt that I made for myself that's flannel top, flannel backing, and it has wool batting. And both of the dogs, anytime the quilt hits the floor, both of the dogs are on it instantly. Well, that's an exaggeration, but pretty close. So I want to make a couple of flannel quilts for the doggos to just kind of have lying about. And so in a moment of like, it is silly to buy more fabric when there is so much fabric in this house, I decided that I would be like very old school and cut up these shirts that were not good. And then I may have just bought some more flannel because I don't have a flannel in-house and I don't really like this thrifty method of quilting. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm sorry, all my foremothers. I do not love the thrifty method of quilting. It's just like less fun for me. I'm just gonna be honest. Not that I would never do it again. I'm just saying. It probably would help if I had, well, a flannel is always persnickety to work with. And again, if I had like saved up multiple shirts over the years and had like a variety of things to work with, I think I would have enjoyed that just fine. Because it's not like it's not like it was, I enjoyed cutting the shirts up. I actually found that quite fun. And it was limiting in terms of like, this is the flannel I had. So I was just kind of limited in what I could do with it. But so yes, I need to start saving those old shirts that are maybe not quite good enough to go into the Goodwill pile for some scrappiness. So so I did that. And then I worked on up some, I think I may have told you last time we were together that I was starting to work on some half square triangles for a little Christmas-ish quilt for myself. And what I decided to do is do them as broken dishes. That's what this block is called. It's just 4 half square triangles. I laid out several different things, like with stars, and which was very cute, but I just got kind of stressed out that I'm so uptight, y'all. I like to pretend I'm not, and I'm really not uptight about a lot of things, but other things I get real up in my head about. Okay, actually, I think I get up in my head about everything. I'm not really uptight. I'm just up in my head about them. And so thinking about like all of these different squares and like, I was like, okay, I could put the stars together, but then eventually what if I have like X number of blocks left over that are all the same, and then that star is different looking than all the other stars because the other stars are scrappy, but then suddenly I have like 4 stars that are just all the same fabric, and that so I'll put a little picture in here of just like a sampling of my squares. So let me just discuss. So time consuming. Both of these the one quilt I didn't show you and then this little quilt were very speedy piecing endeavors. These were not. In fact, by the time I got like halfway through, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have enough for like a full-size bed quilt. It's like just enough for a throw. But so time consuming. By the time you piece them all, and then you cut them all, and then you trim them all, and then you put them all together, and then, oh, and then I hate to iron my seams open. But I also knew, since this was a quilt with no plan when I started, that that was probably the safest idea. I mean, I didn't do the individual half square triangles. I did those I ironed flat because I use block lock rulers, and you can't, those are not useful if you don't have your seams just pressed to one side. If you have your seams pressed open, the block locks don't work as efficiently as they would otherwise. And it is, I mean, it is very satisfying looking to see your seams pressed open. I'm not going to lie, but it is, I do not enjoy the process at all. So by the time I got them all done, I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many. It's just taken 7,000 years. No, barely enough for a throw. But that's okay, because I do have enough for the throw. And then I think I'm going to use this. I had this left over. This was a lining on a recent bag. I think I'm going to do that for the binding, because that's also in the quilt. I think it'll be cute. And I didn't bring over my backing fabric, but it's also cute. Although I was very tempted, because Hawthorne has one of these. Hawthorne Fabrics is having a sale. I'm not sponsored by them. But they have this little art gallery print, this little red one, which I like quite a lot. It's not really normally my jam, but I really do like this red print. They have a flannel of it, and it's on sale. But I have other things I could use as a backing, so I should just chill out, right? Tune in next week, there'll be that red flannel on there. Okay, so that is all of my finished sewing that I can show you. I also finished a test sew for Sew Liberated. I cannot show it to you yet because the pattern is not yet published, but I'm excited about it. It was a project that I thought, I don't know if I actually like this. Like, I agreed to do the test sew, and I did buy the exterior fabric. I had the interior fabric, and I had this like vision of what those two things were going to look like. But then when I saw the final sketches of the pattern, I was like, I don't know about that. Because it has, I was thinking of it like having a very traditional, like a denim jacket collar that you think of, like just a shirt collar. And it has more of almost like, I guess you would call it a shawl collar. And I was like, I just don't know. And I was just really pushing against it, and I kept putting it off. Because it also had a lining, and I've not done an inner lining. Maybe I've done an inner lining, but I don't think I've done an inner lining before. And so I was just pushing it off, and I was just like having a little hissy fit about this project. I had done the muslin of it, and of course I just used, it's a muslin, it's not something that you're gonna wear. And so I used this cotton ripstop that I had, and I knew that fabric did not have a drape, and so that was going to make a difference in how the final project looked. But also, it's a jacket, so it does not going to have as much drape as, like, you know, a blouse or something. Blouse is such a funny word. But and I was just like hemming and hawing, and finally I got it done, and I was like, and I actually really like it. And so I'm really excited about it. Oh, the other thing is, I bought the denim, and I actually bought the denim in person, but I wanted a black denim, which is so weird. I don't think I've ever owned anything that was black denim, and like for the majority of my life, I've actually hated black denim. But for some reason in my head, I really wanted this like workwear jacket, like black denim. There's lots of different pocket configurations. And then I had this like fun lining that kind of was like very artsy paint box kind of looking. And I just was like so excited about the thought of those two things together. And I bought my denim fabric, and I brought it home, and I washed it, and it smelled awful. It's been so long since I've bought anything that was a dark denim that had that. It smells burnt to me. I found out through research that it's actually like sulfur. That's one of the dyes that's frequently used in dark denims or black denims, has a sulfur has a sulfur component to it. So discouraging. And apparently there's really just nothing you can do for it. But hopefully, since it's definitely dissipated, I've washed it a few times. I soaked it in vinegar. it definitely, the smell dissipated. And I'm hoping that since it's an outerwear item, like that smell seems to intensify when it's hot, like when it's next to your body and it gets heated up, warmed up. So I'm hoping, oh, don't you hate that? It's been so long. I mean, 20 years probably since I've had anything that had that smell that I didn't even think to check for it. And I don't even know that I would have been able to tell when I was at the store at Joann's. It was at Joann's. Because, you know, there's so much going on in there. And, you know, there's sizing and stuff on fabrics when it's in the bolt, and I don't know, disappointing. But I'm hoping it'll be okay. And I'm really excited about the jacket. So even if it's not perfect, or even if it's still stinky, well, I'll just figure out what to do. If it's too much, I'll just like pass it on to somebody who maybe has no sense of smell, or doesn't care as much, or lives in a cold enough climate that they'll never smell it. So that is sewing of the future. Okay, I have two things that I'm excited about that I want to just share with you. I don't know, I just do. Okay. So I am so excited. Okay, so I am going to do this Cozy Village quilt, which is by Cotton and Joy. And isn't that super sweet? But the version I saw, she used 2 colors only. She used a white for the houses, and then she used a gray. She used an Essex linen, so that's a cotton linen blend, and it's a dove gray, sort of with like a slightly purple undertone, and it was so beautiful. But somehow I got really into the thought of doing it with this Essex speckle. So this is also Essex linen, so it's also a cotton linen blend, but it's this, I think it's called dolphin. I don't know, it's like an animal. And it has all these speckles in it, so I thought it might look like snow. I just saw that there is also a speckle flannel that is navy blue and has speckles in it, and wouldn't that be cute? And then I just got some Kona snow, and then I got this little Essex linen stripe for the doors. I'm so excited about it. I think it's gonna be so cute. Because I do love a White House thing. And she had quilts. She had kits as well. And again, it's called the Cozy Village. It's by Cotton and Joy Patterns. And I don't remember who had the quilts, had the kits for the Essex, but I'm sure if you look at Cotton and Joy Cozy Village quilt kits, it'll be there. So then I have like a sad and oh, that's kind of fun. So last time I showed you my Klompen slippers. It is a pattern by, where's your name, lady? Lydia Hamilton. And it's crocheted and felted slippers. Mine did not felt. So last time I talked to you about how I definitely chose the wrong yarn. Okay, but can we just discuss how beautiful this is? Like, look how gorgeous that green is. It's obscene. Look at it. It's even more beautiful after I washed it 700 times. Not 700. But, yeah, they did not felt enough. So the only other thing I'm going to try, I tried the tennis balls, which was such a great suggestion. And yeah, I even like added boiling water. I did all of the tricky tricks. So the only other thing I can try is to do like an actual like shock bath where I do it back and forth between boiling water and cold water. See if that does anything. But it may just be that like the yarn is a little bit challenging to felt because it's a Dorset, so it's a downy wool. We'll see. Or I'll just have to make friends with somebody with very big feet. That's also an option. But isn't It's so pretty. So this is naturally dyed with marigold and indigo, I think. But it's so pretty. So if it doesn't felt, that's fine. It's definitely rippable at this point. I guess I'll determine if it's rippable when it goes to the next stage. I mean, I could, okay, so let me show you the next thing. So this is kind of like, I am going to try to make these. This is a free sewing pattern by Fancy Tiger Crafts. You can download it from their website, and they're called Cozy Cloud Slippers. And what they're showing you here is the planned exterior, the planned interior. They're just flipping them inside out so you can see both looks. And they have kits available. And what they are is they're just a really simple little slipper. They have wool batting as the batting. And then this back little bit is actually a knit. So I'm assuming it's just so that it gives you a little bit of give on the back of the heel. So I am going to make some. Hopefully they work out. They're very sweet. I'm going to try to make some. I have this denim left over from my jacket. And then I have this little square of this little bit of, what is this? This is like a Robert Kaufman flannel. And then I have some knit that I was going to make bras with or something cute, because look how cute it is. So I'm going to try, I mean, it just needs a little bit of knit. You could totally use a scrap, or like if you have a t-shirt that's gone to the other side, you could totally just use a t-shirt. So I hope I like them. It seems like it would be a fun little, fairly easy giftable pattern. If it's definitely could do batch sewing with it. There's 3 pattern pieces, I want to say. There's like a toe, a heel, and a sole. And then you use double wool batting. You wouldn't have to use wool batting. You could totally use cotton. But hello, we're all sheep people. Use the wool. Use wool whenever possible. So yeah, I'm excited to make those. So what I was going to say is I thought about briefly, like, oh, I could totally just cut these apart and then use this as my inner lining. But then I was like, but this is so beautiful. I couldn't bear to do it. So we're going to give it another try. Maybe I'll make friends with a neighbor who has an agitator washing machine and see if that will do it. We'll see. If not, I can totally rip them apart and make some other little knitted slippers with them. And in fact, you know what? That's what I really should do. Because if I get them to felt a little bit, but not enough, then I won't be able to take them apart. Ow, we'll see. We'll see. So that takes us into knitting. Although I have another stitching. Oh, I'm just going back because I've got another stitching to show you. No, bad segue. I just started this very tiny little stitchery. It's called Lady Goose. Right? It's by Mama Witch Cross Stitch. So it's a downloadable pattern that you can buy through Etsy. And Cross Stitch is X. She has a lot of really cute patterns, but this one just got me. I don't know why. Like, I'm not particularly fond of geese. But this one is just so cute. It's got a little mushroom house. If you can see, the mushroom, or the house even has like little like fungi kind of ish growing on. So cute. So I have a whole bunch done. So I'm just doing mine on black Aida cloth. This is 18 count Aida. I can't remember what she did the sample on, if it was 14 or... Oh, it is 18. Okay, so there we go. I did the right thing. And I'm just using the called for DMC floss. It's really cute. It's real sweet. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's real cute. Okay, and so then let's go back to knitting. Okay. So I finished one... no, that was not the last time I told you. Okay, I finished one of my Paddington Station. Is that what it's called? My phone is frozen. Really? There we go. I finished one of my socks. I believe this is called Paddington Station. Yes, it is. Haha. And this is by Ambrose Smith. It's super cute. This is Hazelnut's Artisan Sock in the Shag Carpet colorway. And it is super cute. So I have that one, and then I have this much of the next one. And I'm knitting those on double zeros, just a plain old heel flap. I don't know what, I didn't do what the pattern says. I don't know what the pattern says. Cuff down. Those are all the things, right? So I'm excited about them. They're just like a 4-row repeat. And so by the time you get to the foot, it's almost like the repeat is too fast. You're like, wait, what? But they have a nice amount of elasticity because there is essentially ribbing worked into this stitch pattern. And they're just really cute. Usually I'm not a fan of purling this much on a sock, but I have enjoyed these quite a lot. My house, I have a pork roast in the oven and my house smells really delicious. So if you see me like, I'm hungry and there's roasting meat and it's too delicious smelling. And then I have knit a little bit more on my vest. So this is the Academic Sweater Vest by Skein Knits, and I'm knitting mine in Jamieson and Smith. So that is a fingering weight woolen spun yarn. We talked about the acid, the poison color last time. I've just started my armhole steek. So what am I, like 1.5 inches above the armhole? So delightful. I should really just only work on this. For some reason, I am so good when I am working on this. It's enough to keep my mind engaged. It's like listening to the audiobook on 1.5. It's enough to keep my mind engaged so that I don't get distracted and do other things. Like, again, it's such a hard place. Like, right, the sock is good because it's like, oh, if it's going to be like a crazy complicated sock, I'm probably not going to do it because I'm like, that's too fiddly. So 4 rows is like theoretically a good amount, but it's also just lets me stop every 4th row in my brain. Not intentionally, just distraction wise. And then the last thing I'm knitting on is I am using, this is my bat vent from last year. So Joanna Springs, for the last several years, has done a Battling a Day countdown calendar. And this was last year. The color scheme, the color theme was ice castles. And isn't that perfect? So what I did, and I'm knitting theoretically a Yowza Weigh It shawl. So that is a pattern by a series of patterns by Susan B. Anderson. And what they were originally written for was the Yowza skeins from Miss Babs. So those are like an 8-ounce DK weight skein. But the way the pattern is written, you knit until you have X number of X percentage of your X percentage of your yarn left. And then you start the border. So essentially it's a garter stitch shawl, and I believe there's 4. There's like a crescent, there's a regular triangle, there's probably an elongated triangle, and then there's this one, which is like the 3 triangles. So it's like a 3/4 hap, right? So there's 4 lines of increase. Yeah, instead of 3, right? So there's 1, yeah. Okay. Did I say that right? And I'm, of course, in the middle of a row. And, of course, I'm dropping a stitch because we do all of these things together all the time. Yay. So here's mine so far. And what I decided to do is to lay my yarn out in terms of value. So there were a couple of options, right? There was like some colors. There's some blues. There's some lavenders. There's almost pretty much white. There's like sort of like a foamy, sea foamy kind of green. And so I was like, do I group them by color? What I decided to do is ultimately just lay them out by strict value from darkest to lightest. And I just used my phone to keep taking pictures and moving things around under like the black and white settings on your phone. So I laid them out in value. And then I put a little sticky tab. Basically, I just ripped up some Post-it notes and numbered them. And then what I decided ultimately to do was I knew I wanted to like alternate skeins because unfortunately here there is quite a line because there was a big bump in color. So it definitely does look stripy, but I was hoping to not have like big breaks in color or whatever. So what I decided to do was basically skein all the odds together and then skein all the evens together in order so that I would have two skeins to alternate back and forth and that they would be somewhat similar values. So I do every other row in each skein. Does that make sense? So theoretically, if it was like a straight gradient, that would be, well, you wouldn't need to do that if it were straight gradient. But if it were like a straight value step, that would be a way to do it, to have, to not have big breaks in your color or value. It's not as perfect when you're doing something that's not strictly designed that way, but I think it's still pretty, right? And so it's super fluffy and super lightweight because what I did is I spun my singles, and this is all Mama drop spindle. Just another thing I'm really proud of. I did all of this spinning on drop spindles, and then I plied the single ply yarn with a strand of mohair silk, like from yarn.com. Southampton is a good one, and you can usually get it on sale. Or at least through their discount. It just got dark all of a sudden, sorry. Or Knit Picks has a pretty good value one as well. And I kind of just picked up a lot as I went. In terms of like over time, I had just accrued a lot of them for other projects. So I had lots of bits and bobs that I was able to I didn't have to buy a bunch all at once. So that was, I'm sure if I actually added up how much I spent, I would be like, ooh, but it was just done in like little increments, so I didn't notice it as much. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do, I haven't decided. Originally, I thought I would knit at the batt vent and then do the border in a white, like a white with a mohair silk. And I think that's probably what I'll still do. But it's also possible, we'll kind of see how big it is. Because again, the original pattern is written for DK. And this is more of like a sport fingering-ish. So we'll just see what size it is. My aunt is a smaller woman than I am. Or the person it's for is a smaller woman than I am. So we'll just kind of see like what we're looking at when we get to the place where I would normally change to the border. And this one has like a ruffle border. This is did I mention? I think it's this number 2. Yeah, it's the way it's shawl number 2. This one has like a ruffle border, so I don't know that I'll do that. I may do, so one of my favorite shawl edgings is to use Paula Emmons-Feasley, who's no longer with us, but was the host of the Knitting Pipeline podcast. She had a shawl called Piper's Journey, and it has a fairly simple applied lace edging. And so it's one of my favorites to do. I don't know if you'll be able to, oh yeah, you can very clearly see that. It's one of my very favorites to do. So I might do that. Of course, that totally negates the idea of doing the weigh it shawl because I have no idea how much that border weighs, but we'll just see what happens. Lots of things I super overthink about. Knitting is often not one of them. Right. I guess I'm confident enough in my knitting that I'm just like, yeah, it'll work out, it's fine. Or again, I'm like not married to it because it's not, I don't need it to be something specific because it is a process thing for me. I'm not as stressed out about what it's going to be when it becomes what it is. It's very zen crafting of me, right? I have like yarn balls twisted around tripod legs. It's bananas up in here, y'all. Bananas. But yes, oh, then there's one more thing. Speaking of slippers that might not work. I didn't show you. I have wanted to make these stinking slippers since the pattern came out. And I know that part of it is because the photography in the pattern is like ridiculously attractive. I 100% believe that that's why I want to make these. It's like very underexposed. I'm going to just show it to you because it's gorgeous. So this is the Capella Cozy Slippers for the Whole Family. It's by Kasja Burella. So Kajsa Vuorela. And so this is the Ravelry photo. So I clearly just want to make these because that's so attractive. Like, does that little wooden bench appear in my life as soon as I complete them? I think that's what's happening in my brain. I don't know why I love them so much. But they're knit in DK yarn, but they are knit to a gauge of 31 stitches to 4 inches. Gus. Apologies to your dogs. They're knit to 31 stitches to 4 inches, which is tight for worsted, for DK. But dang it. So I got, and also I was ridiculous. I got the Briggs & Little. I'm going to go through 17 yarn balls because I am definitely not a professional podcaster. The Briggs & Little Regal 2-ply, and it's listed as a DK, but I think it's like an old school DK, which means it's like a new school worsted. You know what I mean? Like, if you've been knitting for a long time, piece fleece used to just be considered worsted. And so, but I love the lower contrast. And so I got these 2 colors from Maritime Family Fibers. And then I'm just using some doubled up Rauma Finulgurn for the, because there's like 4 rows of contrast color. But like, this is how far I am. Because to get the gauge, I have to like work. I have to knit on zeros with worsted weight yarn, and maybe that's just not what I'm gonna do. It's so pretty. And I could totally knit it at a looser gauge because there are multiple sizes for this pattern. The sizes are 41-42 all the way to 49-50. So heel to toe length anywhere from 27, or excuse me, we'll do the English, or the American, 10.6 to 12.6 inches. So I could do a smaller size and just go up a gauge a little bit, but also I know the reason to do the tight gauge is because it's going to wear super well, but I just don't know where I'm at. I mean, I think this tells me where I'm at, right? That I'm really excited to make these, and I was excited this yarn color combination, and then that's probably telling me exactly what I need to know, which is that I'm probably not going to work on these ever again. So yeah, maybe I just need to look for, it's not like a super unique pattern. It's like very, you know, pointy toe, pointy heel, traditional slipper with a very traditional colorwork pattern. It is unusual that you do the heel first, which is kind of fun. I've never done that before on that kind of pattern, of that kind of slipper or sock, whatever you want to call it, mitten even. Like the Latvian, like the pointed toe. So we'll see. Maybe I should really just admit that I'm not going to do that and knit them to a looser gauge. And then shrink them a little if I need to. I'm a hot mess, y'all. Hot mess. I want all of the slippers. Can you tell my feet are cold in perpetuum? Like, my body is never cold anymore. Very rarely cold. My hands and my feet, however, blocks of ice. What are you gonna do? So yeah, I think that's all. I hope you have a good turning of the month. I hope you find things to enjoy in December. I hope your crafting is clear in your mind. And that's me being like, there's this time of year where people start to feel really obligated to make things for other people. My husband always asks me who the thing is for that I'm making, and it's always me. I mean, like 90% of the time, it's me, or just like because like it's somebody that might need it. Like I just had friends come over last weekend, and I have like the giant bin of knitwear that's like available to take with you when you visit. Accessories. And I feel kind of like this pang when he asks who it's for and I say me. I do have this like little like defensive reaction, which is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Like, if you're doing it for you, that's fine. Men who golf are golfing for themselves, not for other people. Just because I was raised as a woman doesn't mean that everything I do has to be for other people. And yet, that is like my defensive reaction when I'm asked that question. It's just like, I'm trying to get over it. Because I don't believe that. I feel like when I am in my like logical mind place, I totally am fine with only making stuff for myself. Or, again, occasionally other people, but I'm totally fine with it. But that knee jerk is still like, feels very defensive about it. So that was just me trying to say, I hope you have clear edges on your intent. I don't know. I just hope your intention, whoever you're knitting, whoever you're crafting for, whether it's you or other people, I hope that you just feel good about it. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I hope you feel good about it. And I think one of the reasons I knit mostly for myself is because lots of times when I'm crafting for other people, I don't really feel good about it. Because I'm often feel like they're not really gonna, like I'm more concerned about things being perfect or, again, it's that whole thing when you build the IKEA furniture, if it's slightly wonky, you're like, it's fine. But if you purchase the thing and it's wonky, you're like, this is not correct. You know what I mean? Like there's this DIY like little glow that you put around things that makes that I'm always afraid that other people won't have when they get the thing. And also just a lot of people in my life don't care. They don't like nitty woolly things. So, but yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons I knit a lot for myself is because, I mean, the action itself is for myself. So, I don't know where this is going. I'm hungry, and I clearly am having a little brain fog. Thanks for visiting. I hope you enjoy your making. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.